Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to Afrovibes here at the Balie in Amsterdam. Also, for the people joining us over the live stream, a warm welcome. We're really happy to have you. I'm Isabel Sheridan, and I'm your moderator tonight. Over recent years, spirituality has woven its way into the Dutch art scene. Tonight, we will explore the profound influence that African traditions and Black spirituality have in this art scene. How does spirituality elevate and enrich their artistic expression? I'll be talking about this with three very talented artists. Two of them are already present, and we're waiting for a third one. Over here we have Gavin Viano, theater director, performer, and writer. And on my right we have, I'm gonna horribly mispronounce the name once again, but we will hear in a bit how it's really pronounced. Buchbeswe Siwani, a visual artist and performer. Now you can correct me.
Buchbeswe Siwani.
I stand corrected. It's super nice having you. We are also waiting for Esperanza Denswil, also known as the artist that is Pink Oculus. She is around the corner, so we will have her in a moment. So we will talk about art and spirituality tonight. And I would like to start with you. You're from Johannesburg originally, but you've lived in different parts of South Africa. Was spirituality a big part of your upbringing?
Yes and no. There's different types of spirituality, right, as we know. So I think my parents, or the people who raised me, my grandmother, used to take me to church. And the idea of church as a sort of a spiritual force was what I grew up knowing. I did know that there were certain things that were done pertaining to African spiritual forms when I was growing up. Like she would burn certain things were slaughtered. We'd have like Thanksgivings, there'd be rituals for babies when they come into the house, when they're born, when people become men, etc. So all of those things I grew up with, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I just never tied it to the fact that these things were on opposing sides of each other.
How were they at opposing sides from each other?
So I will start with the Witchcraft Act of 1956, which was passed in South Africa at that time. And it was illegal to practice your own spiritual beliefs. And so our own spiritual beliefs, meaning Isangoma, which are, I think the term that you would best understand it, is shamans, it was illegal to practice your own spiritual beliefs. So, if you had to slaughter an animal, you'd have to go get an affidavit from the police station or something. And obviously, 80% of the population is Black. And you're basically saying that your beliefs are illegal further. But this is during the apartheid era. And I was born within the apartheid era. So all of these things are also really important to note in my work, which we'll probably talk about at some point.
We will definitely do that.
So they're on opposing sets of the spectrum, because when the missionaries came, they kind of usurped the land using Christianity. And so when they demonized it, they introduced the church. And now there's the belief that everything that we do, our own belief systems are demonic, which I think Christianity has done with voodoo. They've done with candomblé, they've done with quite a few practices, with a few indigenous belief systems. Yeah.
Yet you found a way to incorporate both.
Not incorporate both. I'm looking at them as something that's opposite, but I mean, a lot of spiritual practices are coded. And so when African churches start saying, I'm going to preach in a particular way, they're coded also with a lot of African belief systems involved, So they involve all of that. But the surface and the superficial level, this is church. Right.
Yeah. Also, Pink Oculus, a warm welcome to you. Can we get an applause for her?
Hello.
It's really good to have you here. Where did you come running from?
From another location.
From another location.
But I'm here.
You're here now. Yeah, just a warm welcome to you. Let's turn to you, Gavin Fiano. Did anything that Bobessa said resonate with you?
It was just very interesting to hear your upbringing and how you were raised with different forms of spirituality by your grandmother, but also the church, trying to expel anything that's not Christianity and labeling things as witchcraft or bad.
Yeah, because you also grew up with the church. Right?
I grew up with Christianity, but also the Surinamese spirituality, Winti Pre, and also with the spirituality of Rastafari. Spirituality was always and still is very important in my family. And we're also very thankful people. So now we're on the spectrum of it doesn't matter what you believe as long as you're thankful. And I studied in Maastricht in the south of the Netherlands at the Theater Academy, and I was very thankful and for the experience and blah 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 blah. And my teachers were like, don't be thankful because that makes you weak and blah 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 blah. And it gave me a total different side of thankfulness. And then I explained to them, but there's also power in being thankful, and it's not like that I'm saying like, oh, thank you for this chance. No, thankful to be able to create and to be able to study and to
also
be
maybe
able to be myself and also to be able to tell my stories with my perspective, with my background and my history. So I was happy that I could change their minds and bring in a different perspective. So that's my side of spirituality and with.
That's a
family.
Wonderful take on gratitude. I was just wondering, did you also the opposition that was just described between Christianity and indigenous religions or other forms of religions? Did you also experience that with Winti?
I've heard it, around me that a lot of, Surinamese people were taking their distance from those beliefs. And now it's really nice to see that the newer generation, our generation, is very interested to know, like, hey, what were the beliefs of our ancestors? And let's do our research ourselves and experience it ourselves and make our own choices. And in that process, we take our parents, that other generation, along with us. So, they come from...
You be their guides.
Yeah, but also generational trauma, but there's also generational success. So I'm really happy that, with, the stuff that I'm finding, I can share that with my parents. And it's a nice process.
That's a beautiful thing. And also in your work, you relate spiritual healing also to queer identity and sexual healing. Maybe to the audience here, could you explain a little bit about that? About what kind of place that occupies within your work?
So I'm also a playwright. So every story that I write, I'm always fascinated to know what's happening inside of a person or a character. And then I if I have a subject, I really want to peel all the human forms and all the materialism and all the things that, we find important in life. And then when I strip all these things away, the only thing that I see that is left is the soul, is the energy. And what are we if we only look at each other's energies? And that really fascinates me. So every story that I write, there has to be a spiritual line.
It's just inherent to the work that you make.
Yeah, and it's also interesting, especially in the Netherlands, where there are a lot of people who are into spirituality, but also a lot of people who aren't. Yeah. And then, if I can give them a new perspective, and we can talk about that, and we can exchange.
Maybe learn something from each other.
That's the power of art. Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautifully put. Esperanza, if I'm correct, your artist name, Pink Oculus, also comes from a spiritual encounter. Is that right?
Yes.
Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about what happened?
So in 2009, 2009, I saw an image online. When you're scrolling, you can be faced with all different types of images. They can be good or bad. And something that I saw was very triggering to me. And it brought me to a very negative space in such a way that I couldn't focus on anything. And I kept seeing this image. I closed my eyes and I could still see it. It was very, very impactful in a negative way. So I had to figure out something. I had to, go about my day. I had to go to school. I had to go to work. So I had to find some way to be able to function. So I started to pray or repeat a mantra to myself. Because if you experience one thing, there's also the other end. On the other end, there's the other version of it. So I thought to myself, I had to bring myself over there. And I started being thankful for the healing and thankful for already being okay and bringing to myself into higher states of being by just focusing. And I continued to do this throughout the day for 20 hours. I was doing this constantly as I was going about my day. And I noticed that I was able to focus and I was able to hear people and I was able to just be in the moment. And so at the end of the day, I was in my bed still being thankful. And I guess praying is the only way I can really describe what I was doing. So I was still doing this. And everything around me started to become... the density of the air started to change and it became thicker as if I could feel it pressing against me.
It was tangible.
It was this tangible thing. And everything around me became pink as well. The color changed. So I got up out of bed and I thought to myself, okay, wait, what is happening? Am I tripping? For the people that have tripped in their lives or have experienced with drugs, I think the only thing I can describe it to was an MDMA experience. So anyway, I get up out of bed and I just tried to calm myself down because I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah. It must be also quite disturbing of that, entering your space all at once.
It wasn't disturbing at all. It was the most beautiful feeling I'd ever felt. It was very warm and loving, and it was as if love was the only emotion that existed. And a deep, deep gratitude for everything that I was and everything that I owned, or everything that was around me, all the people that I knew and all that I had learned. And I understood in that moment that was unconditional self-love and unconditional love. And it was such a life-changing experience for me that I thought, I have to hold on to this. I want to take this with me everywhere I go. So that's why I decided to name myself Pink Oculus, because pink was the color of the space in that moment. And oculus is a Latin word for window or opening, just something that you're looking through. And throughout life, you experience a lot of different emotions. That's life. You go up, you have your ups and downs. That's just what life is. But as an artist, you have to hold on to a certain type of sensitivity to be able to create, to be able to really feel what you're doing and really create something authentic. I feel as artists that we are, we have this capacity to create something out of thin air where there was nothing before. We can create something there. So you have to be able to hold on to this sensitivity, and life can be hard sometimes and make it so that you want to just close yourself off completely. And this is something that I have gone through, that I didn't want to feel anything because I could feel everything. So holding on to this pink experience made it so that I felt safe to just move around in the world and be myself and, share that feeling. Because in that moment, I realized that it's just a frequency that you tune into. It's really... You can tune into that if you want to, if you know how to. Yeah. And in that moment, I understood how I could do that. So that's why my name is Pink Oculus.
That's a beautiful story. That's a beautiful thing to experience as a person.
It was.
Is that something that also resonates with you?
I didn't know that story, by the way. We know each other for a while.
Yes.
So, wow, thank you for
get that
sharing.
well hidden.
Yeah, I also recognize that. I was thinking about it, and spirituality for me is a gebruiksaanwijzing, a manual through life, how to navigate yourself. And
Maybe also state of mind, or...
Yeah, but for me, it's specifically like state of mind is a different connotation, like a manual.
It sounds
right?
very practical when you describe it like that. A manual.
But it doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be something conceptual or like like, let's make life practical. Thank you for being here, spirituality. So yeah, I totally feel what you said.
And you also agree with that, with the practicality of.
I agree with the practicality, but I think that Pink Oculus, Esperanza's experience is Esperanza's experience. And everybody has their own experience with how they came to be. Everyone has a story of how they finally fell into their own, I guess, being, or when they were being born, because I call it being born. Because when that happens, a new you is finding its way out. Something that's been suppressed by the environment, society, so many things. So you are essentially finding your feet. You're finding life. And I think spirituality is very practical. It's what you live, you know. And I think being thankful is a very big part of spirit, because we're speaking to people who were here, people who've passed on. That's why people have baptisms in the sea. They have offerings in the sea. That's why people, you know, have... I hate the word shrines, but I will use it because that's the English expletive. So I guess people have shrines, but, you know, we speak to people. I have nothing against Jesus. I think...
Let it be noted.
Little baby Jesus is great. But, you know, when I see my Jesus, he's not Jesus, he's not Jesus, he's not, you know... he, she, they, it's not a person, it's a form. And I think the form is within you because you make up parts of who you pray. You're made up of parts of who you pray to. So that lives in you. It's super practical. It's in your body. You move through life moving with all these energies within you.
And you can tune into that.
Yeah, so tuning into like the pink energy, there's actually, you probably know this, there's like certain energies, you see light of people. So around certain people, you'll see golden light, and that's the purest energy there is. But it's also related to like the stones that we find in earth. So like, you know, rose quartz, the pink energy, love, heart chakra. So they all serve a purpose to heal and to also walk. There's a walk in life, and maybe your purpose is to walk with love. And
it is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think everyone's purpose is that in some way or another.
Okay, here's some disagreement.
I think so, because if you look at children, that's what they do. You know, children don't come on this earth hating or being anything but loving.
Oh, unless you watch true crime drama. Sorry, I know that's like...
Okay, but besides the crime drama, I just want to come back to you, Esperanza, for a little bit, because you like last year you released the beautiful album Before Wisdom.
Yes.
And there was this one lyric that I found very interesting. I'd like you to comment on. It's from the song Hide, and it says, "My mouth is a spiritual weapon, heavy for the one that got sentenced. Spirit is in my alphabet, spirit is in my mentions, spirit is in my beverage, spirit is in my breakfast." And you talk about your mouth as a spiritual weapon, maybe also your voice. Yeah.
Yes.
In what way do you experience that?
I experienced that in the way that As a vocalist, my voice is literally my instrument. So what I say is amplified. Even in this moment, there's a microphone right here. So whatever I say is amplified. So I have to make sure that what I say has substance to it, but not just speaking to the world or to whoever listens, also speaking to myself. You don't use your mouth for this, but a voice is a voice.
Yeah.
That's how you build yourself. That's how you create things. That's how you communicate. You use words, you use sounds. So when I say a spiritual weapon, I use it to protect myself. I use it to build myself. I use it to create worlds. I use it to touch other people. I can literally do anything with my voice. If I just look at the way I create sounds, if I don't know how to create a sound, I use Logic in a software. It's a software program. Yeah. And if there's something I don't know how to do, I'll beatbox it. So I create the sounds literally also with my voice. So it's not just the words that I'm saying, it's also the sounds that I'm making. So when you listen to a song of mine, you're almost surrounded by my voice without even knowing it. And I say weapon because, we got to fight in this world. And if you can use your voice to do that, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Because, people are silenced every day. So if you can use your voice to reach whomever, and it crosses boundaries, it crosses medium, then, it's perfect. Yeah. I think it's the easiest and most difficult weapon at the same time.
What do you mean by that? By that it's the easiest and the most difficult one?
Because everybody can talk. Most people can talk.
Yeah.
But you have to be careful, what you say. You have to be careful what words you use, and you have to. That's what I mean when I say easy and difficult. Because if you talk about nonsense, you will create nonsense in your life
and in the world.
And in your world.
Maybe there also comes a responsibility.
There's a responsibility. Yeah. Absolutely, you have to use your voice responsibly, and if you understand the power that you have, you're more selective with what you say and who you say it to. And what you say to yourself, mostly.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Gavin, because you're also a singer, is this something that you recognize?
I understand what she's saying, but I don't see my voice as a weapon. I see it as an extension of my soul. And then again, energy. I love that word, energy. But I totally understand what she was saying. Yeah, but yeah, the voice is very powerful, and I love it that I can use it.
And you have a beautiful voice.
True that.
You.
Very true.
Thank you. And if you and it's funny because I don't think my speaking voice is nice, but I think a lot of people have that personal but when I say I'm like, oh yes. And then if we're talking about color, I think my voice is brown. It's thick, it's brown.
That's beautiful. What do you think your voice sounds like if we are talking in colors or in form?
I don't give my voice a color. I feel like it can be any color. I feel like I have a lot of versatility in my voice, but there's definitely a warmth when I speak. I really love my voice. I'm really happy that this is my voice. But I've never given it a color or anything, just a feeling. It's a warm feeling.
Yeah. And it's also something that you shouldn't give. Like you either feel it, experience, you see it, right? That's it. That's, again, very personal. It's always different, but we understand each other, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Maybe also such a physical or bodily experience of the spiritual as well, because it's inside you. You project it. There is this tension between that as well, maybe.
I wouldn't say physical. That's the cool thing, because for me, it's very airy. So it's not tangible for me. Yeah.
Guys, maybe this is a question to all of you. But, spirituality is in our ancestors, in those who came before us, also in all the traditional healing practices. It builds on a very, very long tradition. There are so many people who came before us. And I was wondering, as relatively young makers, what do you hope to add to all that already was in that way, in the spiritual? What do you hope to add in that line as the people of the now?
I think I can only add my personal perspective as Esperanza, as Pink Oculus, to everything that already exists, because it's true, like everything already exists, but your perspective is unique. So I think in that way, what I create will be unique and worthy of adding to what's already there. I don't know.
No, that makes sense, of course, as an artist. What about you?
I think everybody is born we all have a purpose. I think we touched on that. And I kind of feel like my purpose is to excavate hidden history, or history that isn't spoken about often enough. Because, history is spoken from the point of view of the winner or, the conqueror, etc. And coming where I come from, which is South Africa, our history book starts with Dutch history, actually, which is in 1653, Jan van Riebeeck arrived. This is literally our history, as if there was nothing prior to that. And so I've made it a point to excavate as many spiritual untruths as I can. I feel like when I'm sleeping, when I'm walking, being in this city, there's so many things I can just, okay, this building is interesting. Why am I being pointed to this? There's something that needs to, but a point of contention for me is always the water. And that's why in my work you'll find a lot of water, because there's so many of us in water. Dead or alive. And alive, when I say alive, I mean the souls are alive, but the bodies are no longer present. So my thing is, what I'm here to do is to excavate. Yeah, so kind of like artist as archaeologist.
Yeah. No, but that's a beautiful way of describing it.
Yeah.
And also maybe to give more space in the now for those who came before us, to give them the recognition also.
I don't think it's for people prior to, for there to be recognition. I think it's for people who are living now, so that we know where we come from, because so much of who we are has been lost, that it's so difficult to find yourself even in the midst of all of this happening. And I think that's why so many of us are floating spiritually. So, like I said, you need to find your feet. Yeah, and I think finding feet is my purpose, to help people find their feet now. So when you are young and you look at something, the point is to think, why is this speaking to me? So when someone walks into an exhibition, any work that I've made, etc., as long as there's one person who has a question, it's at least one soul that has, shifted.
That you've touched or interested in, maybe
somebody
another
who's also going to start excavating their own history. Yeah, so I'm trying to make everybody
spreading the archaeology. And what about you, Gavin? How do you relate to the traditions that you build on, or the people that are your ancestors or your history?
For me, art and spirituality are really about expression and healing. So when I create for myself. And the minute that I share it, it's not mine anymore. Then it's for the audience. And that's also the power. So the effect will always be different. But I create to move. I want to move people in the room. And that experience will always be different. So it might be healing. But I've also seen that my work makes people angry.
Why does it make them angry?
Because they disagree. They don't want to hear that perspective. They don't want to hear that truth. Once I've seen that once I've seen that effect, I thought, awesome, this is amazing. Like, let's do this more.
Because why is it amazing to you?
Because I don't have to argue with you. Like, I will show you, I will make you feel something, and whatever you want to do with that, that's up to you. I'm done. I'm moving on. I'm already writing the next project. It's not my problem. Like, it was my problem, and I'm talking specifically about my first theater play, Melanine ten strengste verboden, about 8 black guys, teenagers, who were wrongfully convicted of rape within one day. And now, as you can see, I'm a tall, dark-skinned, cisgender black guy. So from the minute that I was growing very fast, and I think that was from the age of 15, I've always had problems with how people perceive me, and especially the police.
Yeah.
Where every 2 months I would, they would stop me or even arrest me. And nobody believed me, only, my own community. So then I was like, I need to tell this story. And that story made a lot of, predominantly white people angry. So I was like, got you. And yeah, that
Here's
was
the anger, now
for
sit
me.
with it.
Yeah, but that's also the power of art. And then, I always love to open a conversation because that's where it starts. That's also the power of art. But a lot of people weren't open to that. And then also a lot of guys came up to me and said, hey, this is my story. Thank you for telling that. But also Blood Sand, which is about healing from sexual trauma, which is also my story. I needed to tell that story, but I couldn't tell that story at the age of 11. I had to wait for a lot of years before I was able to do that.
For that narrative to fully mature.
Yeah, and also to write
something
about it. There's a lot of power in writing. And then a lot of people came up to me, strangers, and they said, thank you for, sharing this story. This is my story. I'm going to bring my parents to your play because they don't understand what I'm going through. But because you've mixed spirituality with, healing from this trauma, I can show them, what this experience is.
So can you tell us a little bit more? For those who haven't seen Blood Sands, you're bad because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
What do you exactly do with healing and spirituality in that piece? Because that's really interesting, I think.
Well, it's about Jenna Lee. She's the main character, and she's a black woman who needs to heal from sexual trauma. She's already successful in her career, but she every time she's stuck because she didn't heal from what had happened to her as a young girl. And she has her ancestors, 3 of her ancestors, and I divided them in African archetypes. So you have the grandfather wolf, auntie wolf, and uncle wolf, and they are trying to guide her, to lead her, but she's very stubborn. She's a very strong energy. Yeah, until finally she lets go. And when she lets go, the whole room just resonates. And the main character is played by Princess Bangura. She's from Sierra Leone, and in our research, we mixed the Sierra Leonean religion with the Surinamese one. She's from a specific tribe, and then we took the beautiful parts and also the power of those religions, and that's how we created that script, and that resonated with the people who came to see the play. And as a writer, also I'm big on legacy, and the one who writes holds the power, and everything that we do right now is very virtually based. So that's why I'm also excited that my work has been published as a writer, so that I can leave that legacy for the next Gavin Viano. Yeah, and that's also very important as an artist to leave your perspective, your mark, that stamp for the next generation, because we are the new ancestors.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. And I just wanted to go to you for a second because, as you mentioned before, we would dive also into everybody's work. And you recently created a solo exhibition called Ieza. Yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that exhibition and what it is exactly that you did there or what you created?
So Ieza is the word in my language is Xhosa. It's the word for medicine. And so what I did was I looked at the ways in which the land gives, the water gives, and the people give, and all the medicinal herbs and things that come from the land and the water. And so I was looking at ways in which people heal using these materials. So I went to like a few caves, forests, spoke to other traditional healers. I'm also a traditional healer, so I know what herbs to use, etc., to heal
It's
certain
called
things.
a sangoma?
No, that's called Inyanga, but I'm Inyanga Isangoma. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm both. I know how to heal and I use certain tools for divination. So basically, I made artwork speaking back to the subject of the plant matter and also cosmologies. So when the Khoi, the San, the Klu, the Klam, the Nama, who are indigenous to Southern Africa, used to use the stars to guide, to find food, to find medicine, to move when it got cold or if there was danger coming. So they would use the stars to tell them. So I created an exhibition around all of that. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And I was wondering, because obviously your exhibition draws upon your experiences as a healer. Is the artist and the healer the same person?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because we also coined this talk as art and spirituality. And sometimes I feel like, especially in a Dutch or European context, these two things are seen as separate.
I can't separate the two when I walk with the spirits. I am who I am. I make work about the spirits. They do too. So they can't separate it. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
You're right.
Yeah.
We agree.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you can't separate the spirit from self if you are walking with the spirit. If your ancestors you are carrying them and they are carrying you. So if I'm going to make work about this, which is ancestral, my subject has never changed. It changes slightly in what I'm doing, but subject is always the same. So I can't separate the two, and people love to do it, you know. They're like artist and traditional healer. It's just say artist, it's fine, you know.
And also, but I think, because I do think that also really pertains to a Dutch, European, or white context. At least what I feel like here is that we often make a very big separation between the body and the mind. It's very rooted in at least the way I experience
It's not
Western
just
culture.
you. It's not just here. It's literally everywhere. It's the Western model of teaching is very much like that. Everything belongs in a box, and I think you tend to confuse the enemy when you can't put things into a box. You know, so you can't box someone up and then say they want to box something, tie it up into a nice, here, this is what it is, so that people can
Very
easily
concrete.
understand, and then you can present it as this. Once you start adding these layers, and people are multi-layered, you start adding these layers, then it starts to confuse people. Okay, so what are you presenting today?
Yeah.
This is it. It's all of, you know, it's all of me. I'm an all-encompassing human being made out of different facets. You can't just pick one that works for you.
Yeah, or say
Yeah.
this is this and this is that. Because I'm asking this because we already touched upon the way audience perceive your work, and I was just wondering, because especially for you, because you are sometimes in South Africa, but you also
I feel
are
the
here.
same way as Gavin. Once the work is done, it's no longer mine. Or how you feel is how you feel. You deal with yourself. Yeah, you have to deal with it. I've also had quite a few angry people, and I think it's same.
Mission accomplished. I mean, if you don't feel anything with
Then you
the
haven't
work,
done your job.
Yeah,
No, true.
exactly.
But do you feel that your work is differently perceived in here in Amsterdam than, for example, in Joburg?
Yeah, of course.
Because what differences do you see?
Well, the work that I'm speaking about is not foreign to my people. Yeah, here it's a different thing. So there'll be a couple of people who've been to South Africa and they'll be like, oh, okay, I see this, you know, or they've taken something home.
You
And
have some idea of the cultural roots that it's...
some, but, you know, also people back home, if you aren't inside, there's an insider-outsider situation when you don't speak the language. It's like me going to an architectural firm. They'll use a language that we might all be speaking English, but whatever they're saying, I build this in this way, whatever they're saying is going to be completely foreign to me. So everybody who's inside the company, the architectural firm, will understand what this person is saying. But me, I'm an outsider. I have no idea. I just know I want my house to have black trim, blah, blah, you know. But if you go inside where I'm from, and if you go where my clan is from, my ethnic group, some of them will understand, but only the people who are inside of what we do. So people who have gone to the forest, who know how to use the medicine, etc., will understand. Which is why when I bring work here, I am not, for me, it's very important to say a lot of things that come from Africa or, you know, so-called third world will be shrouded in like mystified, dark cloud, whatever, dark continent. So my point of contention is to always make sure that I demystify it. So I take something little by little by little by little so that you understand that it's not something that should be, you know, clouded in this dark continent mythology. And so I try to make sure that that's what I bring here.
That's part of the,
Yeah, but I don't rob people of the experience that the same people, other people had elsewhere. You're going to see the same thing, but how you understand it is also up to you. I'll give you all the work.
Do you sometimes feel like your work is misunderstood?
Yeah, of course.
And what does that do to you as a maker? Is it something that bothers you?
No.
Why not?
Because I understand it, and only people, if you want to ask a question, I'm here. I'm not hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to ask a question, the point is to ask questions. So many people are afraid to like ask. The one thing which is important is I always aim to spark a conversation. Like I said before, the point is to question who you are, your beliefs, and what you know. Yeah.
Is that also something that rings... Almost hitting the microphone. We were talking about this before. Is that also something that rings true with you, Esperanza? If you look at the way... Because we've heard from these two now how their work is perceived. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like your work is sometimes misunderstood or...
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's misunderstood, but I definitely feel that being a Black female artist in the Netherlands, that there's a certain... The media projects onto you how they feel that you should be. Like when I released my album, I had one of the reviews that said, "It's interesting, but I feel like it's missing some funky flows, some groovy vibes." And I thought to myself, well... You clearly misunderstood what I'm doing. So this album, it's called Before Wisdom. It's a concept album that I did after I had been in a very abusive relationship. And everything is very intuitive. Everything is fragile but strong at the same time. So it's not about making sure that you're dancing. And the fact that is what the reviewer said made it clear to me that you do not understand what I'm doing. You have no clue what I'm saying. You see a Black woman and you think, oh, it's about to get funky up in here. But no, I'm expressing something. I'm telling my own unique story. And in that sense, I feel like I'm misunderstood all the time here in the Netherlands because there's only room for one way to be as a Black female artist, and that is, you know, something that's recognizable here in the Netherlands. Something like, I don't know.
That we can put in a box again. Something that's
exactly
fits perfectly.
Something that fits inside
something
of a box.
Understandable.
And I don't fit in any boxes. And in that sense, I'm almost always misunderstood. But I have my people. I have my, you know, people that understand what I'm saying and that I don't have to explain anything to.
Yeah.
That can just listen to the music and that they know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's, you know, it's not something that bothers me. It inspires me to keep going because clearly the vocabulary of the people that are looking at me is very limited they don't know what to do with me. They don't know where to place me. So I have to show you who I am more and more.
And maybe, I don't know, is there also something, because Gavin just said that, like, making people angry or giving them a feeling of, I don't really understand this, I don't know where the place is, also is maybe something that's gratifying or in a way also beneficial to an artist.
I mean, of course, because it means that the conversation isn't over, you know. And I don't necessarily want to personally anger people. Maybe I do, maybe I don't.
Everybody has their own
I don't know.
I don't know. I heard something about a weapon or something like that.
Yes, but
Very true.
this is true, but not from a place of anger, but from a
starting point. But
it's not the starting point.
Like, okay, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, just as a Black human being, people are gonna approach you with a certain type of hostility. You don't have to do anything. You just have to just be Black in a space, just breathing somewhere, and someone's gonna approach you with some nonsense. So in that sense, I definitely need my weapons.
Yeah. Voice.
But it's not my intention to cause any type of conflict. I just want to exist and be who I am, and we can have this conversation. You know, it's fine. It's okay. Yeah,
No,
you have to know who you are. You have to hold on to who you are, right?
Yeah. But also in the face of being sometimes misunderstood, whether it bothers you or not, I think you all make work that is deeply personal and also rooted within your own cultural or spiritual traditions. Does that ever also feel vulnerable to you to present it to a wider audience that might not completely get it, or are like, hey, where's the groove, lady?
I mean, honestly...
That's how a Dutch reporter would say it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I don't create for a white audience. I just make what I make. I make it for whoever's watching. I make it from my perspective, and who's watching can look at me. But I'm not concerned with the color of my audience necessarily. I just make what I make. And if you relate, you relate.
Yeah.
If you don't, you ask a question.
Yeah, sure. What about you? I see nodding. I see nodding heads. So I guess.
Yeah,
we're on
I
the same
agree as
page.
well. I do make from a vulnerable place, because that was also a part of your question.
Yeah.
Because there's also honesty in vulnerability, and there's also recognition and humanity, right?
Maybe also power.
Yeah. Also, but I didn't want to say that because I've noticed that everything is just like, there's also power in it.
But there's a lot of power in a lot of things.
No, but vulnerability. I think it's one of the starting points. Being honest and open and true to yourself, and then, creating what you want to create. There's the recognition.
Yeah.
I agree.
Point
of view.
Dot. And just maybe because we're approaching the end of this conversation, I started this talk with the introduction that over recent years, spirituality has also really entered and woven its way into the Dutch performing arts scene. Do you feel like that? Obviously, we're here at Afrovibes, and here there's a space for the spiritual, for African traditions. Do you feel like if you look at the broader landscape in which you are operating, that there is more space and more need and more maybe appreciation or acceptance for the form of art that you guys make? You can take a second to think about that.
I don't know if the word is appreciation.
What is the word?
English is not my mother tongue, but
neither is it.
And also, it's also not acceptance. Because I don't wait to get invited. Like, I create and I present myself, and that's where the collaboration starts.
Yeah.
So I also know what I bring to the table. So it's not about acceptance or appreciation, because if I would wait for appreciation, then I would become depressed as an artist, or that I'm waiting for people to understand what I am doing. They are interested, but it's not a matter of acceptance
or appreciation.
There's
an initial interest. Is that a good way to frame it then?
Yeah, people are open to what I present. That's true. Yeah.
And that's maybe also a good starting point for whatever may come after from that.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about you, Esperanza?
I mean, it's definitely true that spirituality is very marketable, and you know, it helps if people understand or if they have a sense of what you're doing a bit more. But I try not to be influenced by that too much. I really try to just have everything come from within, no matter what the landscape is. So I don't know if it's not my focus. What's happening outside of me.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
I think the word spirituality has become like a buzzword.
Yeah.
You know, once in a while you get like a buzzword, like something that floats around. And right now it happens to be spirituality. It's no longer like,
Urban.
Diversity. Diversity.
Urban,
It's a great
everything.
Yeah. And I think there's still quite a long way to go in understanding spirit itself. And so a lot of the work that you're going to see from a few people will be very surface level. And, you know, sometimes you'll hear music and it's very like, and they'll say, yeah, it was a spiritual, whatever. I mean, I went to listen to an album of Gregory Porter's, and I think it was a revival. The song was the revival song. And that song doesn't say it's about the spirit, but you can literally feel the spirit in that song. So those are the type of things where you're like, this person is working with the spirit. This person is working,
But it's not
understands spirit.
yeah.
But, you know,
It's not as obvious maybe
Yeah.
or put out there like this is a spiritual thing. It comes from the song.
from within. So it will show anyway. Nobody needs to say spirit. And we don't, like Gavin said, I don't wait for anyone to, because the thing is, when you're working with spiritual work, you're putting your body on the line. Because to excavate, you have to work with all the people that are working with you as well. So they also have to, they come out in their different forms, like whether it's you sing in a particular way, there's a growl that comes out. Those are also those spirits that are speaking. So, you know, your body is there. And so it's almost like as much as you give thanks, remember that you're also a gift to this place. You're giving a gift and you're leaving a gift behind. And that's how I see it. I don't want to be like, as much as I'm vulnerable, I'm leaving something for someone to look through after.
To explore.
Yeah, when I've become the sister. Yeah.
I think on that note, we're going to close conversation. But before I do that, I'm going to look at the audience and see if there are any questions to these artists.
We've said it all.
They've said it all. They've said it all.
Yeah.
Well, if there aren't any questions, maybe you can talk to them afterwards if you're shy, which I get. I'm shy too. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, people at home, for tuning in. Thank you to my wonderful guests. Thank you for your amazing work that you're doing. I'm really enjoying it. And then it's to me to remind you that there will be a performance of Hakim Ba here at Balie here at 8:30. And tomorrow is already the last day of Afrovibes. Very sad, but everything comes to an end. The festive closing will be at Kunsthal Rotterdam. That will be in the afternoon. And in the evening, there will be a closing at Theater de Kikker in Utrecht. I'm Isabel Sheridan. This is the Balie. This was Afrovibes. Thank you very much for listening.